They sold us a lie, a glittering mirage called Las Vegas, the supposed crown jewel of American excess. But now, in 2025, a terrifying question hangs in the poisoned air, one nobody ever dared to imagine. What happened to the legendary Las Vegas Strip? This neon artery, once pulsing with the lifeblood of over 40 million souls a year, now feels like a haunted graveyard, desperately concealing a rot that's eating it from the inside out. Oh, the lights still flicker, the casino doors swing open like a predator's jaw, and the shows play on to an audience of ghosts. But don't be fooled by the spectacle. Beneath that blinding glow, a silent, catastrophic collapse is underway, a sickness that the tourists are forbidden to see. Forget the slick, corporate-sponsored lies you see in their propaganda. The real, unfiltered truth is finally being leaked, not from press releases, but from the very people who power this machine. The dealers, the bartenders, the housekeepers and servers, the invisible army that keeps this charade running. They're breaking their silence, risking everything to confess the chilling reality behind the velvet ropes, a world of desolate tables and empty promises. Their tips have evaporated into thin air, their shifts have been brutally slashed in half. This isn't a string of bad luck, this is a desperate, first-hand warning siren, a confirmation that the very soul of Vegas is shattering. Prepare yourself, because we are about to expose the ugly truths the casino moguls are desperate to keep buried. The secrets these workers have unleashed will not just shock you, they will permanently shatter your perception of Las Vegas. To the untrained eye, the deception is flawless. Las Vegas puts on a dazzling performance, a blinding spectacle of light meant to outshine any other city in America. Its infamous Strip, a 4-mile monument to greed, is lined with towering monoliths they call hotels. They boast of billion-dollar casinos and so-called world-class entertainment. For the naive, first-time visitor, it's the perfect illusion, the ultimate manufactured success story. You see them everywhere. The unsuspecting tourists, snapping selfies before the Bellagio's water show, wandering like sheep beneath the gaudy, glowing signs of Caesar's Palace. They queue up mindlessly for shows starring has-beens flown in from Los Angeles or even New York, completely seduced by a landscape designed to feel larger than life, a relentless, deafening party of flashing lights, of blaring music and counterfeit luxury. The moment you step through the gaping maw of a mega resort, you're assaulted by a chemical cloud of perfume, an airborne anesthetic engineered to make you forget there's a real world outside. All around you are the hypnotizing chimes of slot machines, the robotic flipping of cards at pristine blackjack tables, and the endless parade of waitresses delivering liquid distractions. To anyone not on the inside, the illusion is perfect. Nothing seems amiss. Las Vegas has perfected its grand deception, conning millions into believing the boom never ends. The official numbers, of course, paint a picture of invincibility, or so they want you to believe. Their glossy propaganda boasts of tens of millions of visitors flooding in each year. They scream about billions in gaming revenue, an endless stream of conventions, cheap weddings, and high-roller fantasies. Their marketing blitz shows you exactly what they want you to see: packed arenas, grinning tourists, and manufactured crowds. From afar, Vegas projects the infuriating image of a city that can't lose. But get closer, look past the blinding glamour, and you'll see the cracks beginning to spiderweb across the facade. The workers, in hushed, fearful tones, will tell you the truth. Countless slot machines sit cold and silent for hours on end. Entire floors of these colossal hotels are plunged into darkness, vast, empty wings they can no longer afford to fill. Restaurants that once demanded reservations weeks in advance are now shutting their doors early, a desperate attempt to stop the financial bleeding. The casual guest, here for a fleeting night or two, is kept blissfully ignorant. But for the people who are trapped here, living and working in the shadow of this decay, the reality is a daily nightmare. Even the very pulse of the city, the traffic, tells a story of decline. There was a time when moving down the Strip was an impossible crawl, a constant bumper-to-bumper war at all hours. Now, on a weeknight, you can find eerie, desolate stretches of asphalt, a ghost road where a river of cars once flowed. Taxi and rideshare drivers speak in whispers of the brutal difference. They remember nights of back-to-back fares, pulling in $300, sometimes even $400. Now, they're lucky to get a single trip in an hour. And yet, the great facade holds. The casinos, in their infinite arrogance, keep burning money on gaudy new signs and blinding light shows, and hollow stage spectacles designed for one purpose and one purpose only: to distract you from the ever-growing emptiness. The goal is sickeningly simple: maintain the illusion at all costs, lest the tourists start asking the wrong questions. Don't be fooled. For every lobby they've managed to make look busy, there are 2 floors above plunged into darkness. For every roulette table surrounded by a carefully staged crowd, there are vast, silent sections of the gaming floor manned by dealers performing a pathetic pantomime, shuffling cards for phantoms. And it's the workers who are forced to witness this charade up close. They see the weekend crowds, a fleeting mirage of the good old days. But they know the weekdays have become a desolate wasteland, a hollow echo of what they once were. When they dare to compare their paychecks from 2010 or even 2019 to the pittance they get now, the difference isn't just staggering, it's a slap in the face. Vegas may still glitter on the surface like a cheap jewel, but the insiders know the truth. The entire city is holding its breath, desperately trying to conceal a terminal decay that has already taken root. And here lies the sickening contradiction. At its rotten core, Las Vegas still sells the fantasy of a never-ending playground. But for the people whose lives depend on this city, it's become a grotesque hollow stage set, all glitter and gold on the outside, but utterly empty and dead within. The real story of Las Vegas will never be found in their lying advertisements or flashy commercials. The real story is buried in the hushed, desperate whispers of the very workers who bleed to keep the Strip's heart beating. The dealers, the bartenders, the servers. The housekeepers and security guards who witness the decay that tourists are meticulously shielded from, and their recent confessions expose a truth infinitely darker than the neon fantasy suggests. Take the dealers for a horrifying example. In the 2000s, it was routine for a dealer to walk away with $300 to $400 in tips on any given night. On weekends, that number would detonate to $600 or even $800. Today, they confess they're lucky to escape with $100, even on a prime Saturday. One dealer stated it with brutal honesty. There's nobody left to play. The tables are graveyards, and when they're full, the money has vanished. The bartenders are singing the exact same tragic song. A veteran bartender trapped in a well-known strip resort lamented that back in 2015, she consistently pocketed $500 in tips during a single chaotic shift. Now, I'm fighting for less than $150 on nights that were once my personal gold mine. She admitted that management relentlessly pressures them to fake bigger smiles and push harder, but it's a futile effort when the customers are ghosts. Then you have the servers in the so-called high-end restaurants. Once, getting into these places demanded reservations booked weeks in advance. Now, waiters are forced to confess that on many nights, entire dining rooms are desolate, barely half full. One server revealed his income has been eviscerated by 40% since 2019. And even as the restaurant shamelessly charges its premium prices, the tips have evaporated because the big spending clientele has utterly collapsed. The housekeepers, however, have their own chilling perspective. Some are revealing that entire floors of these colossal hotels are sealed off, not for renovation, but because the hotels have no guests to fill the crushing void. A housekeeper with over 20 years of service on the Strip declared, "They feed the public lies about high occupancy, but we're the ones who see the empty beds. We know better. We are cleaning fewer rooms than ever before." This grand illusion of a packed city conceals a hollow, rotting core. Even the taxi and rideshare drivers can see the sickness. In the past, during massive events like the Super Bowl or New Year's Eve, they could barely survive the onslaught of demand. Now, these drivers sit idle for more than an hour, praying for a single ride. One Uber driver confessed he's considering fleeing the city entirely, warning it's not worth the cost of gas anymore. This is not a living. The situation has become so catastrophic that shifts are being mercilessly cut across the board. Workers who once depended on 40 hours a week are now begging for 20 or 25. This is forcing them into a desperate scramble for second jobs or drowning them in debt. Overtime, once a lifeline in Vegas, has been systematically erased. For so many, this means a brutal, impossible choice. Either strip your life down to the bone or abandon Nevada completely. One of the most damning confessions comes from a cocktail waitress who has been on the front lines of the Strip since 2003. She warned, "The Vegas I knew is dead and gone. The energy, the money, the life, it's all been replaced by a cheap imitation. People show up, but they refuse to spend. They will sit at a machine with $20 for hours just to bleed it for free drinks. This city was not built on scavengers." And beyond the financial ruin, there's a devastating psychological toll. Workers admit they are under enormous pressure to pretend that nothing is wrong. Management commands them to keep the grotesque facade alive, to act as though everything is booming, even as they stare into the abyss of empty tables and silent lobbies. One security guard exposed the truth. We are under a gag order, forbidden to even speak about it with each other. But every single one of us knows what is happening. And while tourists may stumble away with manufactured memories of a good time, the people serving them are living the nightmare. The Las Vegas Strip is not the unstoppable force of nature it pretends to be. The cracks in its foundation are visible everywhere, if you only dare to look. And the people who work here are forced to watch those cracks widen every single day. These confessions from the inside paint a picture of absolute horror. They are not just tales of bad nights or slow seasons. They are desperate warnings from the people who know the Strip best. Vegas may still put on its glittering mask for the world, but to its own workers, it feels like the city is being eaten alive from within. If the workers are being starved of tips, guests, and shifts, then why is this not the biggest headline in the country? Why don't you see the truth of Las Vegas's collapse plastered across every major news outlet? The answer is terrifyingly simple. The people who control the narrative, the casino bosses, the developers, and their Wall Street investors have far too much at stake to ever let the truth see the light of day. Billions of dollars are shackled to projects along this dying strip, from mega resorts like the $4.3 billion Resorts World, which opened in the middle of the chaos in 2021, to massive entertainment arenas funded by corporate sponsors. The financial machine protecting this lie is enormous. Let the truth escape that this city is a hollow shell, and the entire house of cards would come crashing down. Stocks would plummet, investors would flee in terror, and a catastrophic chain of billion-dollar loans would detonate overnight. For the powerful elite, survival depends on one thing: absolute silence. So they frantically plaster over the cracks, praying no one sees the rock beneath. The whispers from the workforce tell a story of desperation. Absurdly flashy promotions that reek of a scam, rooms suddenly slashed to a pathetic $29, buffets all but given away for free, and show tickets peddled for a fraction of their worth. The official line calls them special deals. The grim reality? They're desperate lifelines, thrown out just to maintain the illusion of life. After all, a room filled for $29 is a better lie than an empty one, even if it guarantees catastrophic losses down the road. But the casualties are already piling up. Shows vanish from the marquee without a word, and entire restaurants have been shuttered in the dead of night. And those grand development projects, once hailed as the city's glittering future, they're dead in the water, stalled before a single shovel hit the dirt. Yet the propaganda machine churns on. Press releases painting a fantasy of booming growth. To the investors, they sell a fairy tale of unstoppable momentum. But the story whispered in the service corridors is a chilling prophecy of total collapse. But the most terrifying secret, the one that could bring it all down, is the mountain of debt. financial insiders warn that several major casinos are drowning in obligations that stretch into the billions. Much of this toxic debt was shuffled around during the pandemic years of 2020 and 2021 when money was cheap. But now, as rates skyrocket in 2024 and 2025, those obligations are becoming impossibly expensive. A hidden time bomb ticking away under the very foundations of the Strip. And make no mistake, local officials are in on the cover-up. This city's entire economy is built on a fragile myth of endless prosperity. To admit the truth, to even whisper of decline, would unleash a wave of pure panic. So the city's leaders keep pushing the lie, peddling fantasies of recovery, expansion, and tourist booms. They point to shiny new projects like futuristic spheres, desperate to distract you, all while legacy properties stand like ghost towns, half empty and silent. This illusion of growth is as critical as oxygen, and the workers on the ground see exactly how the dirty trick is done. A bartender confesses, their voice low, that managers are under strict orders to rope off entire sections of the bar, manufacturing the appearance of a crowd that simply isn't there. A dealer reveals how pit bosses command them to stand at empty tables, a pathetic pantomime of action for an audience that doesn't exist. Housekeepers admit the most damning secret. Entire floors of hotel rooms are locked away. Ghost rooms never offered to a single guest, yet brazenly reported as occupied to inflate the numbers. Oh, the manipulation goes even deeper. Casinos shamelessly cook the books, blending convention numbers with tourism data to hide the terrifying freefall in actual vacationers. Others are desperately propped up by international visitors, even as the river of gold from Chinese tourism, once a billion-dollar lifeline, has slowed to a trickle thanks to global tensions. The workers see the empty spaces. They know the truth. And they're warning us that the numbers being fed to the public are pure fiction. But why this massive, coordinated cover-up? Because Las Vegas was never just a city. It's a brand. A seductive, dangerous brand that sells the fantasy of striking it rich, of a life without limits. It's the promise of a world where money flows like water, and if that brand shatters, the shockwave will be felt far beyond Nevada, taking down Wall Street funds and global investors with it. Entire real estate empires and the careers of powerful politicians are all tethered to the fate of the Strip. This is the ugly hidden truth that the executives and city oligarchs are desperate to keep buried. Every neon glow is a carefully staged illusion. Every number is criminally massaged, and every gaping crack is hastily patched with cheap discounts. To the outside world, Vegas is still sold as the land of opportunity. But to the people who live the reality, the empty floors, the disappearing tips, the broken promises, it's a city teetering on the brink of utter financial ruin. But now, the workers are starting to speak out, and their truths are becoming impossible to silence. The collapse isn't a future threat. It's already happening. The only question now is how long the architects of this lie can keep the lights on before the whole charade implodes. Because when the neon finally flickers and the profits vanish, it won't be the casino moguls or the Wall Street vultures who pay the price. The first victims are always the same. The people who bleed to keep this city alive. The workers, their families, and the entire community built upon this fragile house of cards. Behind the glittering facade of billion-dollar resorts, a devastating human cost is silently mounting. Just look at the life of a dealer, a woman who once depended on a stable 40-hour week and the promise of overtime. Before this silent collapse, she had the security of a steady paycheck. She had generous tips and the ability to build a future for her family. Now, her hours have been brutally slashed to just 20, maybe 25 a week. Overtime is a distant memory, and her tips are a pathetic joke, barely covering the gas to get to work. She confessed the horrifying reality. She's falling behind on rent, trapped in an impossible choice between keeping the lights on or putting food on the table. After pouring over 15 years of her life into this industry, it's a gut-wrenching betrayal. And her story is terrifyingly common. A bartender, trapped in a mid-tier casino, admitted he's on the verge of abandoning Las Vegas for good. This is a man who once commanded a respectable $60,000 a year. Now, his income has been savagely slashed to less than $35,000. His words are a chilling indictment. I can't survive here anymore.